found you.
What is going on, my beautiful LARPers and LARPers? Today we're gonna go over the ultimate assassin setup. And what am I assassinating, you may ask? They are the most vile creature in all of the lands. Mice, or rats, or anything that will pretty much try to harm my livestock that does not exist yet. Now I know you're probably gonna ask, why the heck do you need this super badass setup for something that is not giving you any problems yet? Well, I own about 40 acres right now. If you don't really know that, I probably mentioned it a couple times, but in this 40 acres, I'm planning on starting somewhat of a, well, I have my range on there obviously, but I am going to have chickens, goats, maybe a couple cows, sometime down the road, maybe a horse. But I'm going to try to slowly build up to that. But I am going to probably start with chickens and goats first. Mostly chickens first. Now, when I get chickens, I do know for a fact I am going to have problems with predators and small rodents, or I don't know what else is out there. Maybe chupacabras or something like that. But with that, I need something to have some sort of control around the farm, which is going to be this setup and another setup for maybe a little bit bigger game. If I didn't tell you, this setup here is chambered in 22 LR, so I can't really take down anything too big, but it'll definitely make some quick work of some rats, mice, raccoons. I don't really have beef with possums, but I don't know how. I feel like they would probably try to mess with my chickens or maybe something else. But anything that decides to come and try to mess with my livestock, I am going to have to take them out. Unfortunately, I don't really like killing just to kill stuff. Anything I kill, I prefer to eat, but I do know that my chickens and goats are more important than their lives, essentially. Now, like I said, I'm just going to go over this 22 here. I will mention this little 22 here. This looks like a little Han Solo blaster, but the main focus is going to be this guy here. I think this is going to be the main squeeze when it comes down to this predator control, or this livestock control. Should I be like one of the guys on Yellowstone where they have the vest and it says livestock agent and all that stuff and looks super lame and corny? But anyways, before I get into this setup here, what is my relationship with these companies here that I'm basically featuring? So Pard USA, that sent me out this Pantera 640, and Smith & Wesson maybe about a year and a half ago sent me this M&P 1522. And it's probably been my favorite plinker to date, and I'll get into those details right now. So if you see right at the front here, you have basically a barrel shroud that looks like a suppressor at the end of that, and that's because the whole barrel is basically suppressed. It is an integrally suppressed, I believe this is called the Integra. Yeah, the Integra 1522 complete upper. So you can't just buy the barrel, you have to buy the complete upper. So you'll buy the 1522 with the original upper on there, and then you have to take that off, wait for your tax stamp to come in for this upper, and then slap this guy on here. Now that tax stamps are coming up pretty fast. This took me like a week to get, which is kind of slow for, I guess, the average. I think I see them usually coming back in like a day or two now, which is pretty damn cool. But the Integra upper has a barrel, rifled barrel, like right here, somewhere around here. And then the rest of that is an integrally, the baffles are basically attached to the rest of the barrel. And this shroud goes over the complete barrel. and attaches to back here. I wish I can break it apart for you and show you, but apparently YouTube will probably shut down my channel for gunsmithing, so sorry about that, guys. But the coolest feature about having a true integrally suppressed barrel is it does take supersonic ammo and basically turn it into subsonic ammo. So if you see in some of this video that I'm shooting, all right, so I'm going to show you here, I have some supers and some subsonic ammo. So I'm going to shoot super, sub, super, sub, super, sub, and then until it's empty, just to show you guys the tone difference between the two. So here is super, sub, super. That one was quieter. Sub, super, sub, super, sub, super, sub, super, sub, super, sub, super, sub. You'll see that maybe like the first shot or two was still supersonic, but then it quieted down a lot. Like, I mean, a lot, like almost identical to the subsonic rounds that I was shooting. And when I was shooting the subsonic rounds, all I can hear is literally the trigger reset and the action moving. It is extremely, extremely quiet, which would make for those assassination attempts on these little mice. So if I were to miss, I would have chances to make some follow-up shots without scaring them off. Maybe I'll scare them off with the dust particles flying around them, but you get my drift. I'll have more chances to make up some shots with an integrally suppressed barrel rather than, say, just a normal suppressor attached to a 22 or a just standard M&P 1522 with no suppressor on it. Now, essentially, the rest of the receiver is polymer, so upper, lower, and the handguard are all polymer construction, which makes it for an extremely lightweight rifle. And I also like it because I don't really care about banging it around like that. I mean, sometimes when I have my other rifles, I'll like get a scratch on there and it kind of give me OCD. With this plastic one, I don't really care, and that keeps the cost down a lot. I think a full complete M&P 1522 is like around $300-400, and then the upper itself is like another $300 or $400. So if you're going to get an integrally suppressed little plinker, this is the way to go. Now, moving on, I put these offset excess irons on here just because two things. The Pantera itself is fixed at like a 2.5x, so if something's pretty damn close, say maybe 5 feet away, it is a very blurry scene that I'm looking at. So if I want to make a better shot, I'll just go onto the offsets and just shoot it with the offset sights. Two is if the Pantera battery just dies for whatever reason. I haven't had any issues with batteries on these thermal units that I've been testing. But just say it dies and I just need to make a quick shot while it died. Instead of changing out the battery, I can just kind of just use my offset sights and shoot that thing. Now I have a flashlight on here just for identification purposes at night if the same thing happens with this, battery dies or something, and I need to see what the heck I'm shooting at. So most of the time I'm going to use this thermal at nighttime. So if it dies, I can just go ahead and turn on that light, use the offsets, and slap a couple rounds down range. Strike Industries little hand stop here, and then I have a Strike Industries butt pad here with a, not butt pad, why did I say butt pad? A Strike Industries stock, and then it has this attachment here that holds batteries. So I have the 18650 battery on here that comes with the Pantera optic here. So, well, there it goes. See ya. But that battery does fit inside of this little pocket here, so if I do have time to change the battery, if the battery dies on this, then I can just pop that off, put that one on, and put the old one back in there. Really cool stock to have on this. And again, this is the 1522 essentially, so aside from the integrally suppressed upper here, this is a 25 round magazine chambered in 22 LR. Nothing too crazy fancy about this rifle other than, again, having that cool integrally suppressed barrel. I do love the ease of use of this thing. To me, it just feels exactly like an AR-15. All the controls, the trigger, the grip, the bolt release, the charging handle back here, everything about the 1522 to me is absolutely perfect. There's nothing that's saying, hey, this has got to be a little bit better of a quality or anything like that. The price per functionality that you're getting, the price per everything that you get for this is, to me, probably one of the best 22 plinkers out there. Now moving on to the most important accessory that I slapped on this assassin build here is going to be the Pantera 640 thermal optic from Pard USA. This optic packs a hell of a punch. Now, I did feature another thermal from Pard USA, which is this Sphinx 640 here. This is probably one of my favorite optic, or my favorite thermal units to have, just because of that gigantic screen. It looks super dope on this thing here. I think this is gonna live on this little integrally. So let me go over this little guy here. So this little guy is a Smith & Wesson 22 Victory. I kind of fumbled that name a little bit, but I do have a Gemtech integrally suppressed barrel on here, which is the same company that makes this upper and barrel and suppressor here. If you didn't know, Smith & Wesson owns Gemtech, so that's why. But just having this here as a backup, or even a, I guess, a bigger screen to look at to kind of spot things compared to the little viewfinder on this guy here, I can use this to spot, maybe shoot at something, but if I didn't want to shoot at it with this, I can spot it and come up with this one here. But yeah, this one here, it's just too cool to not have a giant screen on the top of your gun. But the features on the Pantera I do like a little bit, for a little bit different reasons than the actual Sphinx over there. Yes, that one has a gigantic screen, but there are some shortcomings when it comes to having a giant screen compared to something like this here. And I'll get into those details in a second. Now let's get into the features of the Pantera. I'm not gonna nerd out too crazy on this because again, it'll be hours long to just go over all the details on this, but I'm just gonna give to the meat and potatoes on this thing. So you have this little focus ring here, this focus lever. I like the positioning just because where my hand sits here, I can kind of just quickly focus in and out depending on the distance of what I'm trying to hunt down is. So just come up, focus down, focus up, and it kind of bottoms out down there and it bottoms out up there as well. So extremely nice to have that there. Moving on back, you got your button to turn it on here. Then you got a couple buttons up here. One of them is to kind of change the different color palettes that you have. I think it's like 5 different modes: white hot, black hot. Then you got like that predator mode. Doesn't sound right when you say predator mode, but you get it. The alien versus predator mode, where it's like different rainbowy colors. I don't really know how to say that, but you got those modes, and you got like a photo and a record button. It's really cool that this thing has onboard recording. You just put the little SD card in here, and you just hold down the record button, and you'll record. It'll also have another feature that I'll get into a second when I'm going through all the features. But again, Wi-Fi compatibility, and also has a ballistic calculator. That's what I wanted to mention. Yes, this does have a ballistic calculator in it, guys. This is pretty nuts. But once you turn it on, you have this little knob here. Now, usually on a traditional optic, you'll have your knob here and your knob here to adjust the windage and elevation. This one doesn't do that. This one here is kind of like your dial to go through all the settings. So you'll move up and down the settings, and you'll click in to select what setting you want. You'll start off with the image setting, then the display brightness. Below that, ballistic calculator, range unit selector, which is would like to change it to meters and yards. Reticle adjustment, so you got like an X and Y axis where adjust the reticle to your round that you're shooting. Why am I having such a hard time to find the words? If you're gonna zero this optic in there, you're just using that X and Y axis. So you'll shoot that first shot, say it'll be low right, then you'll move the X and Y axis to that shot and then shoot again, and then just keep adjusting to that. It's super easy to adjust this optic. You could change the reticle color. I like white, but you got like yellow or green or red and all that stuff. And then you could change the different reticles as well. I like to use the grid, especially when I'm using this little 22, just so I can make those little minor shots. If I miss a target or something like that, I can kind of use the different dots on the grid to adjust. Has a couple other cool things like auto record and auto off. Auto off is a lifesaver for me. I have a problem when it comes down to turning on the electronics and just leaving them and they just die on me. That's why I have spare batteries. And I appreciate the fact that this has auto off. I set mine to like 30 minutes or so or something like that. But you can set it to, I think, like a minute or something like that. But anyways, having an auto off feature on something like this is great. Now the auto record is also great. So usually when you have to record, you have to hold the button down for a couple seconds and it'll hit record. But this has a feature where if you shoot the gun and it senses vibration, it'll start recording, and I think it'll record 20 seconds before that shot goes off or something like that. But basically, if you were to shoot off a round, it'll start recording on you so that you don't have that missed moment. Usually if you see something, you're in the moment, you're not worried about hitting buttons and trying to record and stuff like that. So it's great that that has a auto record button as well. Also with this knob, it does do like a quick zoom. So you'll start off at 2x, then you move up to like 10x, then 15x, then like 20x, or hopefully I got all those settings wrong, but all you got to do is twist that knob really quick to adjust in and out of the zoom there. Usually you'll see it back here on a traditional optic, but this one you just crank that guy, Soldier Boy, and you'll be good. A little tip though, you can knock that pretty easily. It's super easy to spin around, so if you're walking around with this and it's like rubbing against your shirt, you might come up to it zoomed at 20x and you're wondering why that mouse or rat looks like a giant dog. So you're gonna wanna, every time I pick this up, I just go ahead and turn that knob all the way to 2x. So just get in the habit of turning that knob to 2x every time you bring that up, because you want to just be at the exact setting. Maybe there's a way Pantera could upgrade not Pantera, Pard can upgrade this to maybe lock in the position that you wanted to, but for now it is just a free floating dial here that you can't really lock into place. Now moving on to the back of this optic, you have like 100 millimeters of eye relief here, and then you have this little silicone eye cup. This is a cool feature just because, like I was saying on the Sphinx video, this is pretty cool if you're going to use, say, in a self-defense or shit hits the fan situation, up until it gets dark and you have that gigantic screen projecting a ton of light on your face. So say you're trying to maneuver around your house with this thing and you're coming around a corner, they're going to see a giant light projecting on your face, and you don't want that. You want the element of surprise, right? So with this little silicone cup here, all the light is going to be contained inside. I mean, you're still going to get projection out on your face if you're like away from it, but this one gives you the sorry about that. But this one gives you the opportunity to shove your eyeball in there, so that way all the light is contained within that eye cup, and you can give them the element of surprise, the little Mickey Mouse son of a... Now other features similar to this Pard Sphinx over here, they're both IP67 rated, which is essentially waterproof to a certain extent. I believe it's like 30 minutes under about 3 or 4 meters of water. I forget the way they rate it, but basically it's waterproof to the point where you don't have to worry about say you take a spill in the puddle or something like that. You don't have to worry about water getting into the unit itself and messing up the electronics, or if it's raining out. I live in a state where it rains pretty sporadically, so I can be out in 90-degree weather and it can be raining the next minute. So I want something that is definitely rated to not mess up when I'm out there and it starts to rain. So I appreciate Pard for thinking on that part. And it's also rated for up to like a 338 Lapua. So this is pretty much underkill for what it can really handle. You can also put this on like a bolt action or something like that and get to work on that. Maybe I'll put this on a bolt action after I go out and take out some little rodents, but for now this is underkill for whatever. Am I saying that right? Underkill. This optic is overkill for this rifle. That sounds right. And lastly, if you get confused about like the 640 and the 480, just know that the higher the number, 640, is just going to be the resolution of the image that you're seeing on the optic itself. So if it looks a little bit more pixelated, it's probably the 480 version. If it looks a little bit more cleaner, it's going to be the 640 version. Obviously, there's going to be a big price difference between the two. The 4080, since it's a little bit less of a quality, I guess, resolution unit, it's going to be cheaper than the 640. Now, when it comes down to the details on the 640 and the 480, I'm always going to prefer a little bit better resolution on the 640, but it makes a difference when you're shooting these little tiny rodents, because the pixelation is greater on the 480 compared to the 640, and especially when you're shooting something this small, you're gonna need to know what the hell you're shooting at, because sometimes you'll see a rock that's been baking in the sun all day and you're like, oh man, there's a little something right there, and it's not, it's a rock. So you want better resolution. Now that pretty much does it for the ultimate assassin setup. This thing is absolutely insane. Yes, I put it on the 22, but like I said, I'm just gonna be shooting at little creatures here and there. I do want to put this on a bolt action, maybe a 6.5 Creedmoor for some bigger game. I do have another couple set of videos out there that I'm going to be putting some thermal on some 300 blackout and doing them on some like maybe predator, like coyotes and stuff like that, using those setups for coyotes. So I'll go through another video when it comes down to that, because I have seen a couple active coyotes out in my yard, because there are little baby deer out there, and they're on the prowl for those little baby deer. So maybe I'll take a couple of them out, because I'd like to have my deer population. But anyways, what would you use this little assassin setup for? I mean, again, it's extremely capable of taking out a lot of things. Aside from rodents, do you think maybe the Hitman would use something like that, since it's so quiet and so, I guess, cool? Do you think this is an actual legitimate assassin, like a true Hitman type gun? What do you think? Or is 22 just not enough and you're gonna need a 5.56 or greater? Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a fun video to make. This is a sick setup, and everybody that I'm having shoot with it is loving it. And this one here, people are loving even more. Again, it's just the Pard Sphinx on top of this guy, and it's just absolutely awesome just having this too in my arsenal. But thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Catch you in the next one.